Welcome to the Stage Door. My name is Tanya Mazza, and I'm the Arts and Culture Coordinator for the town of Collingwood. This is the third episode of the Stage Door, an hour of conversations, stories, and laughs with Canadian performing artists and organizations from Collingwood and beyond. It's no secret that the arts community has been devastated by the need for social distancing. That's why it's important now more than ever that we stay connected and help raise each other up. Thanks for joining us. Now, before we go any further and introduce to you this evening's guests, I'd like to introduce to you the person who knows all about theater and can take us through the stage door, and that's Erica Angus. Hi, Erica.
Hi, Tanya. Hi. Oh my gosh. I hope I know at least enough about theater to pull this off.
Totally. You're an expert.
Oh my gosh. Well, how fun that we're on week 3. I'm
Absolutely.
so excited. It's been really a great experience, and I want to thank the town of Collingwood and you. And can we talk about our mystery man?
Yes, absolutely. The man who's behind it all, who does all of the puppetry, who keeps us going, and that's Tyler Cleary. Hey, Tyler.
Hello. Hopefully you guys can hear me in the audience too.
That voice,
Awesome.
that beautiful radio voice. Well, Tanya, you and I have admitted that we may not be as tech savvy as some, so we're very pleased to have Tyler helping us. This week, we have 2 amazing guests. I'm so excited to speak to them.
Mm-hmm.
We also have amazing sponsors. And, you know, in the arts, we could not do what we do without our sponsors. So maybe I'll just give a little shout out to our sponsors that we're featuring this evening, which is Baker Tilly Financial Advisors and Royal LePage Trinity, with a special shout out to a team that goes by the name of Jane and Lorraine, and that's Jane Moisey and Lorraine McDonald, who are so supportive of the arts. So we thank our sponsors so much. I've got a couple of things. Well, first of all, I've got my question of the week for you.
Ooh, okay.
Yes, and this is different. I've changed it up.
I haven't heard this.
And it could be difficult. I'll warn you ahead of time.
Okay.
Say there was no COVID happening yet. We are COVID free. We can all do whatever ever we want to do. So who would you most like to see performing live right now, today? You're there.
I'm there.
And I'm going to give you a little bit of leeway on this, that this person, or I guess it could be a group, may be alive or not alive now.
Okay. Well, I think I can, is it just one? I have to choose just one, right?
Just one, but I know that there's
I can do this. Well, I'm going to gravitate to my my first love, and that's going to be dance. So I will say Margaret Gillis. I would love to see dancing live. A wonderful, amazing choreographer and dancer, innovator from Montreal. I would love it. So that would be what I would do.
Amazing. Yeah. And, you know, I thought of this question because this is what we have to do right now. We have to dream about those wonderful live productions and shows and performers, because we're going to be there again, right? We're going to be there again for sure. I also wanted to mention about a totally different art form. Now, I have to get you to take a look at my earrings tonight, which were just gifted to me, and I'm so excited about it.
They're beautiful.
This is by a First Nations artist by the name of Warren Stephen Scott. And he makes this fabulous line of jewelry. His website is just that, Warren Stevens, and it's Stevens. WarrenStevensScott.com. And I highly recommend that people take a look at his work. The other thing, you know, these earrings are very big. They're so light.
Are they light? Oh, I was going to say, are they light?
They're so light. They're so light. And my sister Paula gave them to me, and I'm very thrilled with them. So anyways, check it out. Warren Stephen Scott, Stephen with a V. Wonderful. Wonderful. So, Theatre Collingwood news.
Oh, for sure. Yes.
Theatre Collingwood news for you. Yay, Theatre Collingwood news. If you were to go by our box office right now, the windows are a little empty right now. And the reason why is because we are busy little bees in there packing up things because we are moving our office. As of September 1st, we'll be one street over at 150 St. Paul. It's a wonderful little 2-story building, and I have to give a shout out because I was actually away last week, and a little elf came in and painted my office last week while I was away, my new office, without me knowing. And that little elf is Anne Rachunas and her mother, Catherine, who went in. I had been saying I wanted my office painted a particular color. They went in, they painted it, they painted our reception area, and it looks fantastic. So September 1st, we'll be over in the new office, and we're so excited about that. We also have a fundraiser coming up on August 23rd at the Georgian Hills Vineyard. We have been inspired by the musical Sunday in the Park with George. So it's going to be a wonderful, completely safe, lovely time outside in the vineyard, wine tasting, food tasting.
Oh, that sounds wonderful.
Music and some great art. That's on the 23rd. There are only 50 tickets available, and I'm thrilled to say we've just announced it. We only have 14 tickets left.
Oh, wow. Well, I'm not surprised. That vineyard is beautiful.
It's gorgeous.
It's lovely. Yeah.
I was out there taking a look at it with Robert Ketchum, and obviously I'd been there before, but he's done a lot of changes to it. So very excited about that. And I also want to give a shout out, and this is to the people in our community who, even though they can't see a show, still support the arts. So in order for us to present shows, we have to sell tickets, and we have to sell advertising, and we have to sell memberships. So one thing I wanted to bring up tonight was we have wonderful corporate advertisers in the community. And this year, pre-COVID, we sold $9,850 in ads. That was advertising in a program that was going to be handed out at shows. We have no shows. What do? So we went to our advertisers, and out of that, $7,350 worth of ads stayed with us, even though we don't have shows.
That's pretty amazing.
I think it's amazing. We're going to do sort of a magazine that highlights these wonderful advertisers who have stayed with us, and we really, really appreciate it. So I just wanted to give a shout out to them tonight, because this community loves the arts and supports the arts. So thank you so much. Yay!
That's amazing.
Yeah, it really is. It's incredible. It's heartwarming. Yeah, and we'll be back.
Yay.
Okay, so here we go. I'm so excited because we get to speak to a woman I met several years ago, and then was able to do some work with her as well, and have been able to watch what she's done over the last few years in Collingwood. And I am talking about Rochelle Reynolds. And I'd like to say, welcome, Rochelle.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. This is awesome. Thanks for doing this show and having this platform and this broadcast for us. It's really important.
Awesome.
I feel that way too, Rochelle, because Collingwood and the area have so many great actors and stage productions, and it would be a real shame if we just didn't think about them this year because of this stinky old virus. So we're not gonna do that. Rochelle, I have a whole lot of things I want to cover with you. I'm going to say the first time I met you, I think probably we were still over with our Theatre Collingwood office in Simcoe Street Theatre. And I believe you had come back from school, I think, or fairly newly graduated. and came to talk to me and just talk about theater and see if I had, any advice or anything, being old. and
wise.
Anyways, we had a great conversation. I remember that. And then I remember you going, and I think you pretty well did everything else that I hadn't talked to you about, which I found so inspiring. That's so great. So let's talk about, first of all, where you were born. And I'd like to talk about your education, because you are an extremely well-educated actor. So let's talk about that.
Thank you. For sure. So in the beginning, so I was born in Collingwood, so I am a Collingwood native. However, I grew up in Toronto, so I always had Collingwood in my life, but it was the same as for a lot of people. It was like the weekend destination, right? Like that was what Collingwood was forever. So yes, because of my parents, like my dad's a teacher and my mom values academics and everything. So because of that, and also because of just who I am, I definitely did go quite a scholarly route in terms of like the trajectory of working artists and everything. Not a lot of people have necessarily chosen the route that I did.
Well, education comes in many forms, right?
Absolutely, for sure. So yeah, it was just sort of, it was something where I felt like, I really got it. Like I knew how to be a great student, and I continue being a great student. Like, as far as I'm concerned, even though I'm out of formal school, I'm always in some kind of course or class or something. Yeah. I'm never not learning. But in terms of like my theater education, so when I was in middle school, I joined this camp, like a drama camp, and from there they had like a rep program, and so I was invited to the rep program, and that's really where my formal training began. So like I through that we did a lot of scene study. We learned basic technique from a bunch of different theater philosophers and everyone from Stanislavski to Meisner to Meyerhold, like you name it, we did it. And I was with that company for, I guess it would have been like 6 years. It was quite a long time. It was all the way through high school. And from there, that led to me going to an arts-based high school in Toronto, Etobicoke School of the Arts, which is really just a fabulous place. Like, what a special institution that it is, especially considering that it's public, right?
I did not know you went there. It's an excellent school. It's a great school. I've been there many times to see their shows, and yeah, it's so cool. That's great.
Definitely. Yeah. I mean, it's just such a special place for a variety of reasons. Like, other than basically privately funded art schools and everything, there really isn't one place that is dedicated to arts education in Toronto. Like there are schools with arts streams in them, but the cool thing about ESA is absolutely everybody is there, had to earn their spot, had to audition, had to really pledge their allegiance to their art from an early age. So that was really great, and that further sort of set me up for where I'd be going. So then I made my first move that was kind of like the unexpected one, which is I went to school in Newfoundland. I went to Memorial University of Newfoundland. I was in the theater school there. So that means that I was on the Corner Brook campus on the West Coast. And that was a wonderful experience because Newfoundland really taught me what values are really worth pursuing, like what life really need to be made of. I found that my time in Toronto in particular, and just kind of like, I find Central Canada's kind of vibe is very, very career driven and all about like, climb that ladder, like reach those brass rings sort of thing. And on the East Coast, I mean, for the most part, people value family. They value their friends. They value, making memories with the people in your life right now. And that was like, that was a real paradigm shift for me. Like I had never really thought too much about that being as important as, you know, setting your goals, achieving your dreams, like pursuing your passions and everything. So that was
what
really...
I'm hearing there, Rochelle, is in some ways our experience with COVID has almost done that for the rest of us, for the rest of the world. Is we're catching up with the East Coast, and that we've had the time to think about what's really important. Yeah, good.
Yeah, I would agree. Yeah, they've got a leg up on us in that regard for sure. Yeah. And then after that, I immediately went off to grad school, and I actually did my master's in writing, directing, and performance with a specialization in playwriting. And that was at the University of York in the UK. So I went even further east. Yeah, and that was a wonderful experience because I don't know, York is like London of the North, right? Like it's an enormous theater hub, and it's actually home to one of the most oldest and most ancient theater traditions, which are the wagon plays, the mystery plays, which have been going on since medieval times. And they still do that every single year. York does the York mystery plays, and I got to be in one. I was in one of the wagon pageant plays. So that was just a really cool thing and a really amazing way to kind of pay homage to everything that I'd learned and all the things that I sort of learned to kind of revere in some way. Oh wow, look, I'm part of the history that I've been learning about this whole time. That was just a really special highlight. And then after that, that's when I came back to Collingwood, and honestly, it was just kind of because I wasn't exactly sure what the next step was. All I knew was that I was really tired from school. That was a long haul for sure. UK master's programs are still 2 years long, but they're compressed into 12 months. So that was a pretty intense year. Yeah. And all I knew at the time was, I was kind of over the Toronto scene. I didn't really want to dive in and live in that city and live that lifestyle. I wanted something a little bit calmer, and again, something that sort of preserved what I had learned to appreciate in Newfoundland. So I decided to come back to Collingwood and see what it was all about. And yeah, I'm still here.
Yeah. So yay! I have a question for you about your whole education route. And it's in some ways kind of a personal question, but you don't have to answer it totally truthfully. But what I wanted to know is, were you able to get any grants or funding for going to school or scholarships outside of the province or across on another continent? So was there any sort of educational grant that was involved?
Yes. So I actually, through Memorial in particular, I cleaned up. I earned just about every single theater and fine arts based scholarship that the school had to offer. I that's what I was there to do. I was in it to win it, and I did just that. So that made it that was really that was actually instrumental because my program at York was an international program. It was incredibly expensive. And that was, a huge kind of worry. It was oh my goodness, is this the right move? But because I had essentially gotten my way, my whole way through my undergrad on various scholarships that I'd earned, I basically had, a pocket of cash sitting there for me that I could use in England. So that was great. And I mean, of course, I also had support from my parents, which is which I'm, very grateful for. A lot of people can't say that. And I admire the students who make it through on their own very, very, very much. I can appreciate just how tough that is. Fortunately, that wasn't the story that was written for me. So I was able to kind of get on with my life without some incredible, scary
I'm so glad to hear that.
Over me.
I'm so glad to hear that, because oftentimes, proportionately, there aren't as many arts grants available as there are academic grants. So, I'm really glad you found them, and it's inspiring for other, potential artists to know that there are some things out there if you search hard enough, and for any of those, philanthropic people who want to think maybe in another direction, perhaps an arts grant would be something they'd want to do. So, so good on you. That's awesome. Yeah. So then you came back to Collingwood and you decided to start your own theater company. Isn't that what every new grad does? That's amazing. So tell us about Quarter Century Theater.
For sure. So one thing that is worth mentioning. So this entrepreneurial journey that has always been that has always been in my cards. So I've been producing my own work. Like I've been writing my own shows and putting them up with my friends and partnering with organizations and just like getting content out into the world since high school. Like I have been pretty aggressive with that, and all through university as well. I always made sure that I had a project on the go. So while making the real leap into like, okay, now I'm gonna do this for real, like do it for a living, while that was a whole new undertaking, it wasn't like I just woke up and said, well, I guess I'm ready to do this. Like it was more of a natural progression kind of thing. It was like, okay, I already know I have these skills. I know how to write, I know how to act, I know how to direct, and I know how to make I know how to produce. Like I understand how to do this, and I know how to leverage relationships and everything. So while there have been many learning curves along the way, and I've pivoted a ton in the last 4 years, the basic premise of like, does this person know how to put on a show? That has been a constant for sure.
Yeah, amazing. Yeah. And amazing that you had the education to, sometimes we're educated as actors, or we're educated as directors, or stage managers, producers are totally different things, all different interesting avenues. But if you can get a course that gives you an insight to all those various different things, that's a plus. So unfortunately, we normally say at the beginning, we can't see the photographs that are being put on. So I'll say it now. We cannot see the photographs that our audience is going to see. But I want to speak to you. We have a photograph of you promoting the Megantic Outlaw on the screen, right? And I think there's is there another actor with you, or one of your friends?
that was Tristan.
Yeah, exactly. And that photograph really spoke to me because of the fact that on a grassroots level, you're out there pounding the pavement on the street, promoting those shows. And your shows with Quarter Century Theater are done in various locations, site-specific locations, which is a whole other ballgame, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. In fact, that was one of the major things that we kind of pivoted from. So I love site-specific theater. It's one of my favorite ways to create. I'm a terrible interior designer, but I'm a fantastic conceptualizer of alternative spaces. Like I'll go into something random, like, for the Megantic Outlaw, it was an old pioneer schoolhouse. Right. And most people go like, oh yeah, this is an old pioneer schoolhouse. And I go, nope, this is, the boardroom of the Montreal Star in 1876 or whatever it is. And people kind of go like, what? How do you sort of see this? So, that's something that I always gravitate towards. It is its own kind of beast. So site-specific theater requires a whole sort of new level of collaboration, because you're working with businesses, you're working with property owners who are using their space for other reasons, and as accommodating as you can be, if you're asking someone to give up their space so that you can put a show on for 50 people a night, like there's a lot of logistical stuff that needs to be worked through. And what we sort of found was like, okay, you know what, this is becoming a bit too, like, this is starting to take away from the experience of creating the shows, and the content is always king. So we've actually pivoted to using our own space. So I have since again, reconceptualized a building, and now my shows take place in my garage. We gutted the garage. We set up, I have my own like professional lighting and everything. Like, yeah, we do the whole kit and caboodle right out of our little storage center.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Now, you had another little pivot because, actually, I wanted to ask you. No, I'll save that for the end. Okay, you went to LA.
I did.
Yeah. And so you went to LA to
pursue some of my own individual goals. So I'm sure every entrepreneur goes through this. Like, there's a point where you get on your journey where you sort of go like, okay, am I still serving the right people? Am I still serving the right audience here? Am I still fulfilling what I need personally? And at the end of our 2019 season, I started finding that it was like, okay, the answer is yes, sometimes, but it was just sort of like, you know what? I have more that I need to learn. I have more that I want to do. I don't necessarily want to be pressured by having to deliver on behalf of this company over and over again, because it's all me. Like, I am, I am the whole thing. So it was just kind of like, okay, I have other things that need to happen now. And I want to sharpen my own sword, right? Like, I'm not going to become a better artist, and I'm not going to be able to elevate what I do through quarter century theater if I'm not also, continuing to learn and continuing to push myself as an individual artist. So I moved to Hollywood. I lived, the natural.
Someone maybe go to Toronto.
No. I figured, it's something that as an actor, I think everybody kind of says like, oh yeah, I'll get there eventually. Like, it's Hollywood and London and Broadway. Like, those are kind of the big three, right? And I sort of looked at myself in the mirror and it was kind of like, well, if I say that I'm going to do it, then why don't I just do it? Like, why haven't I done it yet? And fortunately, I was in a position where, I had a clear new year ahead of me, so I didn't have to worry about like, closing off other commitments or anything. It was like, no, the door is open. Let's do this. So, I pounded the pavement down there. I took a lot of really wonderful classes. So that was good. My background is like, 95% theater and 5% on-camera work. So I took a lot of on-camera classes just to, learn how to adapt my technique and everything. And that was really great. I networked all over the city. I was always out doing something, meeting someone. And it actually was really starting to pay off. I had a couple of really exciting projects lined up. The biggest news was I got into the Groundlings, which is like a pretty big accomplishment. The Groundlings is a pretty major school and improv / sketch comedy training center. So that was really exciting. But unfortunately, it just wasn't meant to be. I had to come home early, and that's how that goes.
Well, we've all had one of those years where we were faced with things we didn't expect. Rochelle, as I totally thought was going to happen, we are running out of time rapidly because I'm sure we could talk for hours. I just want to mention a few things, which we won't really talk about, but you won gold at the International Independent Film Awards. Congratulations. For concept, screenplay, and short script for your play turned film called Black and White and Gray All Over. Also, you were involved with the Battle of the Bands, the World Monologues games that you're working on right now. And you also have this really super fun little film thing going on called the Teddy Bear Theater. And I just wanted to show you, I have someone who would like to audition. He's not a teddy bear. That's really sad that you're just using teddy bear. Well, I don't think you're just using
well,
teddy
there's a giraffe. I know there's a giraffe.
You know,
there's a giraffe, there's a sloth.
If you're short, like, you might want to come in. In closing, and I'm going to have to ask you to answer this really briefly, and it's not going to be easy. I read that you believe that art is the most effective catalyst for change. So in a couple of words, can you tell me what you mean by that?
Yes. So across history, I mean, look at artists have been the timekeepers of the world. They are the ones who, you know, even starting in basic cave paintings, that's always the example that everyone goes to. If we didn't have those, we wouldn't understand how our ancestors lived. And that really is kind of what that means. So we are here to bring awareness to the issues that are difficult to confront. I can't remember who said it, but it's the idea of find the cracks. That's where the light gets in, and I feel that that's what our role as artists in. We're the ones who have the freedom and the creativity and the ability to make strong statements, to question what is happening, to challenge the status quo, and we can do it because we're doing it through our art. And that's really, really important. So the more that people go out and experience art and check in with how does this make me feel and why does it make me feel that way, then that art is serving its purpose. Even if you go to something and you absolutely hate it, that's okay. Ask yourself why, right? Maybe it's because it's shining a light on something that you're not afraid to, or that you're too afraid to highlight for yourself, right?
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Well, listen, we're going to watch for you to make all sorts of changes in this world. I think that Collingwood is very proud of you. So bravo, and thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. This was great.
Good. Great. Wow, Tanya.
What a fearless person is Rochelle
Fearless. A fearless young woman. We need more of that, right? Or we have lots of that. We just need to highlight more.
Highlight them, yeah.
And our next guest, actually, I'm going to just reiterate that Royal LePage Trinity is our sponsor for a second segment, and in particular, Jane and Lorraine, which is, they are the most amazing team.
And they're really fun.
They're fun and talk about two great women. So Jane Moisey and Lorraine McDonald. Okay, here's someone coming up who, I don't know, started to perform when she was in utero or something. I think that was it. So Leisa Way, I'm so glad to have you with us tonight. Welcome.
Oh, I'm now unmuted.
Hi, Lisa.
Good. Hi, Leisa. Thank you so much for joining us.
Well, it's an honor to be here and to be with such strong and wonderful women.
Yes. And you know, we were supposed to be working together earlier this year, and that darn COVID had an effect. I have to say, at Theatre Collingwood, we have many shows that we present, but Collingwood has a love for Leisa Way. So we will wait till we can have you back again.
I have a great love for Collingwood, and the band, we just had a Zoom session the other day, and all of them are saying how much they missed going to Collingwood because we just have so much fun when we're there, and we get to spend time with you, Erica. It's the one.
Well, I love it. And it's Leisa and her boys, right?
Yes, I'm not myself without those boys.
You have an amazing band.
I'm very lucky, and I've been very lucky since the beginning, because the band has morphed from when I first started producing these concerts. Gosh, that was 12, 13 years ago. It was as a vehicle for myself. It was because I wanted to work more. I was getting to the age in theater where I wasn't the young little ingenue anymore. And so I created the Sweet Dreams Patsy Cline. And the next year I very, very frighteningly created the Dolly Parton show, because Dolly Parton. And but it was more of a vehicle. And then I met these incredibly talented musicians that not only could play but could sing anything. and they had so much fun on stage, and they were I hired them just to be my backups, but they were jamming, and I thought I need to put them center stage. So I started creating all of these shows that featured this amazing band that I am so lucky to work with.
You know, this isn't really where I thought I was going to go with this, but it's making me think about the fact that when you're traveling so much doing shows, what an advantage to have a group that you really like each other. And it is obvious that you really like each other and are able to spend so much time together on multiple shows.
Oh, for sure. You know, when we, after so many years together, this current band, Bruce Lee, who lives just down the road from Collingwood in Mulmer, has been with me since the very beginning. First he was my guitarist, then he became my pianist and my arranger. So he has arranged 11 out of the 12 concerts that I created. Bruce arranged with me. And when we went to go on tour, Bruce, of course, he had opened for the Rolling Stones with a band in the 60s. Like, this guy has lived. He worked with CBC for 30 years. He's scored an Academy Award winning or nominated film. He's done so much. He had never toured, Erica.
Oh my gosh.
He never toured in all of those years. And I said, but at that point, he was just coming up to his 70th birthday. And I said, Bruce doesn't mind if I
yeah.
I said, do you want to go on the road? This is going to be tough. We're doing a different show, or the same show, but in a different theater. We did 44 cities across Canada.
Uh-huh.
And he was like a little puppy dog. He was so excited to be going on tour. He'd done it before. Whereas the rest of us who had toured a lot, we all knew how hard that can be, and that you really want to go into a 44 city tour that's going to take you a couple of months, and you're in a little tour van together. You want to go into that with people you really like.
Right. Yeah. He is an amazing man, such an amazing musician, but then composer, and just a real nice guy too.
Well, and that's, as you said, I'm the only girl in this wonderful team, and to be surrounded by such gentlemen, we have great laughs together. Fred, he teases because I'm the boss. I signed the paper, so he calls me, "Hey, boss," and it's just, we're so comfortable together, and we spend a lot of time. Sometimes, when we're at, for example, Globus Theater that we were supposed to be at just before you with this brand new show that I created. We were supposed to be there, and we stay in a cottage for a couple of weeks. So there's 4 of us in one cottage and 3 of us in another, and we have so much fun. But like you said, the key is that you have to like each other, because this is the first, with COVID hitting, this is the first summer since 1981 that I have not done 8 shows a week somewhere.
Yeah.
And David and I, in 28 years together, have never spent this many nights in a row having dinner together.
Yes.
28 years as we have right now. And it's really, it's a testament. I miss the guys. I miss the boys, the fellas so much. But on the other hand, there's certain things that I'm enjoying about this time. And that is time with David, because the summers, usually we just visit each other on a day off. If we're lucky enough to be able to drive that far on a day off, do your laundry, have dinner together, and drive back.
So for those who don't know, your husband is David Nairn, the artistic director of Theatre Orangeville, also an actor, and as well as running a very big theatre company with lots of different assets to it. There's so many different things that Theatre Orangeville does. He also periodically is off on the road doing his own shows as an actor. So I guess you're gonna continue with this marriage then. You survived COVID.
It's a summer fling in 1992 that just kept flinging.
Yeah. So actually, let's go back a little bit further. Prior to that, when you really started performing at a very young age.
I was a child.
Yeah, like almost a baby. And then you got sort of what I would say, the Canadian role of a lifetime. And that was when Walter Learning found you, I guess. That's my impression of what happened. And you became Anne of Green Gables in PEI at the Charlottetown Festival. So we actually have a photograph of you as Anne, and I have to say, I just think you were the most beautiful Anne, just lovely. So you have to share with us what that was like backstage.
I've got the wig here. I've got one of them.
Good.
Yeah, you can see. So it needs a little bit of tender loving care from a wig mistress. But yeah.
Oh, that's wonderful.
I happen to have over 60 wigs in my collection now. Yeah, it was funny because I auditioned in Toronto and I had done professional theater then. By then, I'd already done it for 6 years because Tony Lloyd, my original mentor from Sudbury Theatre Centre, where I was raised, had kept casting me in these professional shows. So I had a chance to work with professional actors that I still work with today from the time I was 12, 13 years old.
Wow.
So I was so blessed. And then when I got to Charlottetown, well, when I did the audition, I didn't have an agent and I wasn't an equity actor. So I'd been working professionally for 6 years, but I hadn't crossed over into that realm yet.
Right.
So I couldn't get an audition. So I sat on the floor of the waiting room in Toronto I crashed the auditions. And Don Heron kept coming out to go pee. And he'd step over me because I thought, oh, I can't take a seat from a professional actor. I have to sit on the floor and wait, and at the end of the day, 6 o'clock came and they sent everybody home and they told all the crashers, and I'd been sitting there since, 8 o'clock in the morning. And Don came out and he saw me and he said, are you still here? Because they'd seen, the professional actors that were crashing. And he said, come on in. And that's how it happened. Just because I waited long enough, I was young and foolish, and I had this dream of doing this role. And he and Walter saw me, and then 4 callbacks later, I was in, and actually I was at the Muskoka Festival for my first, it was the Young Company.
Yes.
And I was actually there in rehearsals for Guys and Dolls when I got the call, and I started crying because I thought, I can't do it. And Michael Ayub, the artistic director there, said, well, what do you think I'm going to do? Do you think I'm going to keep you here? Of course I'm going to go, And so I stayed long enough for them to replace me. And then 2 weeks later, I was in Charlottetown. So I don't know whether they lost somebody and I got it at the last minute. I don't know what happened, but I was just grateful. And I ended up doing Anne for 6 years.
And you toured with Anne as well.
Yeah.
That must have been a very interesting experience because I believe one of the locations was Japan, right?
Japan I held on for 5 years with Walter because every summer I kept getting offered other, summer theater roles at theaters in Ontario. And I kept turning them down because Walter said, if you stay long enough, we're going to do this major Japan tour. And I had fallen in love with Japan. I had a Japanese friend and I just wanted to see the country and to experience it. And I knew how much the character of Anne meant to Japanese women because the book had been translated during the war and it had been hidden because it wasn't cool back then for women to be mimicking these characteristics of Anne, the strength,
right,
the outspoken, and so women hid this book and they were reading it in secret. And so it was a really, I think, the book, Lucy Maud's book, changed the course of the lives of women in Japan.
Yeah.
If somebody wanted to do a study on that. I'm sure there have been studies, but the women that I met in the late 80s, there was a fan club in my name when I was over there. And so every time we'd go to a new city, because we went to 8 cities over the first tour, we did 6 different tours, but the big one was a 3-month tour. And I would go ahead to meet with all of these fan clubs. And it was so much fun. I mean, I never had a moment to myself. Good thing I was young because I couldn't. But I never had a moment to myself, but it was so much fun just to meet these women who were so inspired by this character. And so it was interesting that, however many years later, like 25 years later, when I started my own company, the women that I chose to create shows about were very strong women. Patsy Cline, Dolly Parton, Peggy Lee, women who had to fight really hard to get what they wanted out of life and to assert themselves as a talent in the world that, you know, were sort of just brushed aside because in those days they were women and women didn't do those things. And so it's interesting that I started off my career all those years ago, a shy small town girl from Coppercliff, Ontario, a town of 2,000 people, to having the courage to still be in this business and have a career, because it's not an easy business.
No.
But I think Anne of Green Gables was I think she just fired me up from a very young age and instilled in me, because I was so blessed to work with professional actors who were so kind to me, which is why I love working with youth. And it inspired me to continue that as I get older, that young people need a champion. They need people to believe in them and people to tell them that no dream is too big. And Anne of Green Gables was the start of all that for me.
And Walter Learning, who I actually had the opportunity to work with when I first started working for Theatre Collingwood. And what a lovely, lovely man who unfortunately we lost not long ago. But what an amazing person to guide you through that time.
Yes, I found my little button. Every year that we were there, they did a different button for just a slogan. And the second year, I think it's a learning experience.
Oh, that's amazing. I feel like I had a learning experience too. I'm going to read here because it's so impressive. Some of the people that you performed for: Queen Elizabeth, Terry Fox, Teddy Kennedy, Wayne Gretzky. That's amazing, and many more. More royalty. It's really amazing, the experiences that you've had. It's incredible. And then you had this very interesting experience where you were performing in Camelot. And were the beautiful Guinevere. And who did you meet in Camelot?
Well, that was, my gosh, 28 years ago. So the director that cast us, I think it was meant to be, because he was my mentor, and he offered me 2 shows, Sound of Music and Camelot, that season. And this was my first year leaving Anne of Green after 5 years in a row. And I said, I don't want to do Sound of Music. I've done it 3 times already. Tony, I'll just do Camelot. And he said, no, you can't do Camelot unless you do Sound of Music. And so I took both shows, and if I hadn't done the Sound of Music that year, Tony passed away 3 days after it closed.
Wow.
The man who started me in my career. And I was so grateful that he said, all or nothing, that's it.
Yeah.
He had been waiting for David. He had seen David and adored his performance in many other shows, but David had just been doing Les Mis, the tour. So he had been tied up for a couple of years, and Tony had waited until I was available and David was available to do Camelot. So when we found out that Tony had passed away, the theater company said to me, who do you know who can come in? Tony has all his notes in the book. Everything is written out, blocking, everything's already written out. This is the kind of man he was.
Wow.
And who doesn't have an ego, who will come in and put up the show that was Tony's vision. And I said, Max Reimer, who was a friend of mine from Charlottetown, who eventually became artistic director of Theatre Aquarius and then the Playhouse. And they called Max, and Max flew in, and it was such a gift to do that show with Max. But I met David, and
who was playing your
King Arthur. And Lancelot didn't have a chance. Because King Arthur and I, there was just a bond right away, and we really didn't think it was going to last. We just thought it was one of those show romances,
Yeah.
But I'll always be grateful to Tony. And it was funny because my mom, Tony, always teased her, saying, I want to marry your daughter just so I can be your son-in-law.
Aww.
Because she's a wonderful baker and she cooks. and she was always
Well, and your mother was was probably your number one fan. Well, I don't know. I've been looking at a lot of photographs and seeing, I love the photograph of your father sewing your costumes. Like between the two of them, you had a lot of parental support there.
It's funny, Erica, because my dad was a big old farmer. You can see I always had his suspenders on. He'd come to hear me sing when I was little, and Mom would have to shake him awake. This wasn't a theater guy, and he became such a huge theater fan and a fan of all of my friends, and small town farmer guy, theater people, and he just became a fan. I could bring home, no matter who I brought home for dinner, my dad would pick their brain and find out everything about them, and was just so fascinated. It was amazing to see my dad embrace theater. He had no knowledge, he was quite ignorant as to what theater was, and my dad passed away 20 years ago, and I'm so sad that he didn't live long enough to see me create my company and all of the concerts that I do that my dad was the inspiration for, because all the music I listened to was my mom and dad,
Absolutely. Patsy Cline.
and during this time of COVID, music is what fuels us. I think arts, music, anything musical to me, I can go through a whole day of doing administrative work and then, look up and think, oh my God, well, I'm not listening to music. What is wrong with me?
I think it's really interesting, and we have spoken about this before, about how people have got through COVID. And oftentimes we hear from people, oh, I'm not into theater, I'm not into the arts, but they really are. They just don't realize it, because the arts is in every aspect of our life. And I know from the television shows that are keeping people going, and the streaming and social media and music, it's really been the arts that has, I think, saved us all through this. So, I mean, there's been so many shows that you have done, but I want to be able to get into these wonderful shows that you've created in this particular portion of your life, which is what I've been lucky enough to be involved with as well. I can say, honestly, in terms of ticket sales, the shows that we sell the most tickets for are the Leisa Way shows. They always are. It's incredible. It's unbelievable. And I think part of that comes from, I mean, we spoke about your amazing band and the chemistry between all of you and the great voices, but I have to say that I think most people sitting in the audience are wondering, what is the next costume Leisa is going to come out in for the next wig?
And that's, when we were talking about my guesting on the show, I thought, oh my gosh, it's a chance for me to put some bling on and a wig and some makeup. Because I did a fun thing for Deborah Hale. Colleen Curran, this playwright, a Canadian playwright, is writing this. It's 3 minutes every episode, and they've been doing it every week or two. And they asked me to guest star, and I literally started to cry when I took out my makeup kit, because it had been almost 5 months since I put on real makeup and got dressed up. And so this is what I did for them. I'm going to show you. Okay.
Woo!
Right. So this is
behind the stage door.
What holds it on, right?
Yeah.
This goes into your head. Now I do 12 costume changes a show, so I only have time to put one of these in. But when you're doing a real show and they want the wig to stay on, they put about 18 of those right in your head. So anyway, this is the fun. So this is what I put on for her. So I became the character that they said go crazy with it, and I thought, it's about a hairdresser's mother. And I thought, wouldn't it be funny if the hairdresser's mother wore wigs all the time? So that was my character, my one character trait that I put onto what Colleen had written in the script. So this is the young Dolly, the 1960s Dolly wig that I had created. Now this one is actually a netted wig. So these wigs cost a lot of money. Like this is my Peggy Lee wig. So if anyone can see that, that's the little netting. and they hand sew every single, dental floss is probably about, I don't know, 100 hairs, the width of our dental floss. They hand sew each of those hairs on.
Incredible.
So that's why these wigs cost about, $1,000, right? So anyway, so that's my Peggy Lee wig was hand stitched and hand sewed. So was my Dolly. The rest of the wigs I sort of got online and found, so they didn't break the bank as much. So this was the second concert that I did. But wigs, Erica, they come up to me after the shows and I say, I'm living my dream as a little girl, which is to have that tickle trunk you open up and to just be whoever you want, whenever you want. David always jokes that he can sleep with a different woman every night.
I want to know, do you have like a room in your house that has all these wigs?
Well, I do now. I'm going to just keep going as we talk.
Yeah, please do. Please do.
Wonderful. I have a wonderful wig room. So this is my Dusty Springfield wig. I'll just put it on. I have a wonderful wig room that has my I can't remember whether it's over 60 or almost 80 wigs now. This is my
gosh.
60s wig. It's hard for me to see right now on this small little screen, but so this one has a big, big,
oh yes, the bouffant.
That's the bouffant, and there's so much to wear. This one, when I'm doing the big note at the end of Dusty and I fling my head, I always think really quickly, oh, did I put the wig pin in?
That is so fun.
But yeah, and so during COVID, actually, that's that I had an accident. I had a concussion because I was finally cleaning up this wig room. So this is my Sandra D wig. I wear this in the little bow fell off. I wear this in the new rock and roll show with like my 60s Pink Ladies jacket, This
right.
One I wore when I was Sandy in Greece. I just love wigs. But so I was in my room and I was pulling at the rug, and my metal pole with these costumes, the extra costumes, because now that I've got 12 shows, the room is exploding, fell and hit me on the head and gave me a concussion. So yeah.
So, and you and I both, I think, have something in common, that we've had to deal with vertigo through me just having vertigo. I'm just one of those lucky people who deals with vertigo, and you with your concussions. So it's not fun. But now during the shows, I think, am I right to say, like, I don't know, is it like 18 costume changes or something? There's just an incredible.
Patsy Cline. Yes. In about 10 of my shows, I do at least 12 costume changes.
Yeah.
No, I'd say 9 of my shows, because Dolly, because it's a one-woman show, and Patsy, I don't get off stage often enough. But now that I've got these, so Dolly and Patsy used to just be me out there for 2 hours or 2.5 with intermission. But once the band came in, now I added more costume changes into both Dolly and the Patsy concert, because the boys can go out there and sing a number, Roger Miller or Johnny Cash or something within that. And it gives me a chance to go get some water. Woo-hoo.
Yes, absolutely.
Put another lozenge in my mouth or whatever, and do a costume change. So the costume changes are pretty frenetic, but in many of my shows, like the new rock show, Erica, every time I do a new show, I make it harder on myself. The new rock show, I think I'm changing quicker than ever before, like an intro verse to a song, and I'm literally 40 seconds just changing and back out there. So
I hope that in the Early Morning Rain, Gordon Lightfoot show, that you've allowed yourself to rest a little more with that one.
Early Morning Rain, I think a couple of people were actually quite disappointed that I only change once each act.
Yes, because of course you have a new performer in that show,
yes.
and he takes some of the load off of you.
Well, all of the gentlemen, that my incredible band, in Early Morning Rain, I decided that we would just be each one of us interpreting Gordon Lightfoot songs in our own ways. So I stay on stage for the whole show because I am background singer for probably 85% of the songs I'm on stage singing, and then I'm on stage for my 4 or 5 solos and duets, and it was the first time I really felt that I was part of the band.
Right, yeah.
I'm on and off stage and I'm changing and my heart's beating in the wings, kind of, am I going to get there? Am I going to get there? And then back out on stage pretending that your heart's not beating and doing all these quick changes. And it was the first time that I'm just on stage with the band the whole show.
Lovely, yeah, lovely. I mean, to be able to have that difference. I have to tell you that the British Invasion show is that what it was called? The British Invasion?
Yes.
Across the Pond.
Across the Pond, the British Invasion.
That was, I mean, it was so well loved by our audiences. It was incredible. And the other one was, of course, during Canada 150, you had the "O Canada, We Sing for Thee," which was so incredibly popular. You've also, I mean, there's just a multitude of characters you played. You've done Shania Twain. In addition to all of these characters, Leisa, we also know that you're a fisherwoman.
Yes.
There's Shania.
There's Shania for you. Yeah.
Yeah. You love to fish. You and David love to fish. You scuba dive. You are an incredible yoga participant and instructor. It is a part of your life, which is amazing. You also go to teach children. Now, I'm gapping right now on where that is. I know you go for a month each year.
Well, of course, through Theatre Orangeville, I started sitting in on classes because David and I went to an island in the Grenadines. It's right across from Barbados and St. Vincent. And it's a little island called Beckway. And it's about 5,000 people. And the first time we were there was almost 10 years ago, I think. And as we were leaving, we saw a sign that said Sunshine School. And we followed this winding road going, we didn't know where we were going. And this beautiful bright yellow school. And it was Sunshine School for Special Needs Children.
Amazing.
Because David had started this program at Theatre Orangeville, all of these wonderful programs for special needs children and adults, I turned to him and I said, we are not coming back here next year unless I learn how to teach special needs children. So I spent the next year in his fall or his spring and summer programming and fall programming as a fly on the wall, helping as a helper and a volunteer. Yeah. And every single year that we've gone back now, we spend the month that we're there. We're lucky to go for a month because that's David's time off from the theater. Yeah. And we spend the month doing a couple of classes a week with these kids. And it is the highlight of our week.
Amazing. Amazing. What's happening here is exactly what I thought would happen. We're running out of time. I desperately, Lisa, I could talk to you for 4 hours. I probably have talked to you for hours and hours.
Some more.
And Lisa and I just love to go for sushi together, which I'm looking forward to the next time we can do that. We have a beautiful.
This is in the rock show.
Good.
The audience is missing this summer. I wanted to show them how crazy I get.
Oh my gosh. Well, we are definitely going to do that show once we can. And we have a beautiful picture of your mom and the band as well that I'm sure Tyler is showing. It's a lovely picture of your mom, who I know is your #1 fan. Before we let you go, I just want you to know, just a second here, that I wanted to be a part of your extravaganza tonight. So I also brought my wig to wear with you. That is my homage to Leisa Way. And I thank you. You are an absolute delight. You're my favorite person to work with. And I can't wait till we can have fun doing it again.
I adore you. The band adores you. And we can't wait either.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Leisa. And we'll chat soon. Yeah.
It was so fun.
So let's see if Tanya, if I can pull this off. It's okay. There we go. There we go. I couldn't let Leisa go without seeing me in my wig. Listen, I have news for you that I just have to let you know. Our next show which is on the 19th, Wednesday, the 19th of August. I have a confirmation that Mika Barnes is going to
excellent.
be on that show. Mika Barnes was in the wonderful a cappella band, the Nylons, but this man is such an incredible singer and teacher and all-round lovely, lovely human being who at Theatre Collingwood, we've done a lot of work with Mika, and I can't wait to have him back. Unfortunately, we weren't able to put his show on this year, but we will as soon as we can open again.
Oh, great.
So once again, Tanya, thank you so much.
Thank you, Erica. That was such a fun show. Thank you, Leisa and Rochelle. It was great.
It was really fun. And a big thank you once again to the town of Collingwood and to Tyler Cleary. And we'll see everyone in 2 weeks, 7 o'clock on the 19th of August. When we take another look in the stage door.
Bye, Erica.
Bye-bye.